back with a Nightmare Files, man. I said I wasn't gonna be back for a week. Y'all know I was lying, man. That being said, let's go ahead and get into the video, man. I missed doing a video. I got a couple videos to do. Well, no, I don't. Just this one. But tomorrow I do. But hope y'all have a good fucking Friday on this beautiful Friday. Let's go ahead and get into it, man.
1972. 16-year-old Timothy McCoy got up early to make breakfast. He had met John Wayne Gacy at the Chicago bus terminal the night before.
Whoa, what?
And Gacy let him stay over while he made his way home to Iowa after spending Christmas in Michigan. McCoy got out eggs and bacon and set the table for two. Then he walked up the stairs to wake up Gacy, not realizing that he hadn't put down the knife that he was using. What happened next would set the scene for the rest of John Wayne Gacy's life. Not realizing that the boy had intended no harm, Gacy took the boy's life. He then buried him in his crawl space beneath his home and covered the grave with concrete. Killing McCoy reportedly gave Gacy a mind-numbing orgasm. The murder had allegedly been a mistake, but it instilled in Gacy the ultimate thrill that he would crave for the rest of his life. This just happens to be one of the inspirations behind the movie, It.
Definitely inspired by It.
Those who knew John Wayne Gacy would have never expected him to turn out the way he did. Almost everyone who met him described him as a mild-mannered and likable man. For most of his life, he worked in customer service, first managing 3 of his father-in-law's KFC franchises, then starting his own construction business. His customers remembered him as a kind, generous, and willing to help out anyone type of person. He employed local teenagers in need of jobs and contributed heavily to his local junior chamber of commerce. He even took time out on his weekends to dress up as a clown for kids' birthday parties. However, as authorities would learn, something seriously disturbing had been inside him all along. John Wayne Gacy was born in Chicago on March 7, 1942. His father had always despised him, calling him a sissy, and abused him from the age of 4. He often berated the boy and whipped him with a belt. Early on,
It started at home first. The hot fucking that boy name Dahmer. That's how he got damn started. His mama was leaving and all that other shit, and he going through shit. I think your daddy was.
Gacy realized that he was gay, but during the 1950s that was still taboo, so he pretended to be straight his entire life. Gacy had a heart condition that limited his physical activity and plagued him with being fat his whole life. He spent much of his youth in a hospital. When he was 11, doctors discovered that he had a blood clot in his brain. They were able to treat it, but even that didn't spare Gacy from his father's wrath. Eventually, Gacy had enough of the abuse, and he picked up and moved out west. While working as a mortuary assistant in Las Vegas, Gacy slept on a cot behind the embalming room. One night, after observing the morticians embalming dead bodies, he crawled into a coffin with one. He laid in the coffin for a time, embracing and caressing the body, and it was a teenage boy. Soon after, he enrolled in college. After graduating from Norfolk,
I thought it was coming out with a what's the name of him like they did Jeffrey Dahmer. They said they were gonna do that and Ed Gein. These shit's crazy. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Western Business College, John Wayne Gacy met Marilyn Myers, a co-worker at a shoe company in Springfield, Illinois. The couple married in 1964, and Gacy took over the management of his father-in-law's Kentucky Fried Chicken franchises in Waterloo, Iowa, where they lived with his wife's parents. Eventually, he and Myers had 2 children in what was seemingly a perfect life. But in the meantime, Gacy tried to covertly satisfy his depravity. He joined the Waterloo Jaycees, a group of businessmen who participated in wife swapping, prostitution, and pornography, also drugs. He even opened up a club in his own basement targeted at teenagers, where they could drink and play pool without getting in trouble. He often would build up trust with his victims, so they wouldn't need to be on guard. He was their employer and their friend. He may have been someone who provided them with alcohol and drugs and maybe a place to sleep at.
Can't trust snakes, man. Y'all can't trust. Hey, I always watch your surroundings and I always watch people. You never know. You never know. You never fucking know.
Then Gacy began to force some of these young men, including those he employed at KFC, to perform acts with him. This would be his first downfall. It started in August 1967 when Gacy hired Donald Voorhees, the son of a fellow member of one of the clubs, to do some housework for him. Gacy lured him into his basement, plied him with alcohol, and forced him to perform certain acts. Voorhees kept quiet about the incident until March 1968, when he told his father and spurred a criminal investigation into Gacy that destroyed the illusion of a normal life he had crafted.
Damn.
A few months later, he paid a KFC employee $300 to beat up Voorhees, hoping to scare him from testifying in court. But Voorhees escaped and reported the attempted beating, and the case against Gacy only escalated. In December 1967, John Wayne Gacy pleaded guilty to oral sodomy. At that time, sexual relations between two people of the same sex was illegal in Iowa. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison and promptly served divorce papers from his wife, whom he had...
That was illegal? Well, whoever you decide to have sex with, it doesn't matter if a dog, I don't want to go off that, but that shouldn't deter, that's crazy, I ain't gonna lie. Motherfucker can't tell motherfucker who they in love with. Like, I don't like that. I ain't never going to Iowa. Probably wasn't going anyway, but I ain't going now. That shit that pissed me off.
Never seen again. But less than 2 years after that, John Wayne Gacy was granted parole for being a model prisoner.
What?
During the short time he was incarcerated, Gacy managed to secure a raise for the prison mess hall workers, worked to improve conditions for prisoners, and oversaw the installation of a miniature golf course in the recreation yard. He was given 12-month probation under the conditions that he moved back to Chicago to live with his mother and maintain a 10 p.m. curfew. He agreed and declared. He said that he'll never go back to jail. Months after his release, John Wayne Gacy lured a teenage boy into his house and tried taking advantage of the boy. Gacy was charged with assault, but the charges were dropped when the boy failed to show up to court. Gacy had technically violated his parole, but somehow his parole officer was never aware of the incident. By 1971, Gacy had settled into a new home in Norwood Park, a neighborhood in northwestern Chicago. His yellow brick ranch house there would eventually become a graveyard for 29 young men and boys. It was where all of his gruesome murders would be committed, and also where he would gain a local fame as Pogo the Clown.
29?
Oh, we're at the same time?
Yeah, I'm trying to hurry up and do this video if I can go watch BMF before it come on at 12. Really, that's what I'm trying to do. Not gonna count! BMF, hey, if y'all don't fuck with BMF, y'all better go fuck with it.
While in prison, John Wayne Gacy became something of an artist and repeatedly sketched the image of Pogo the Clown. After his release, he joined the local Jolly Joker Club, a clown club that would perform at birthday parties and hospitals.
Jolly Joker Club.
He taught himself how to apply clown makeup and turned himself into Pogo the Clown as he had imagined in his drawings. He performed as Pogo the Clown at all sorts of local parties, including Democratic party functions and charitable events. Residents of Norwood Park also remember him showing up to his favorite bar, the Good Luck Lounge, dressed up as Pogo the Clown. He was a monster that was fooling everyone. He dressed as a clown and bounced kids on his knee all the time. He would knock at people's doors and say, "Vote for my candidate." But Pogo the Clown didn't fool everybody. Carol Hoff, his high school sweetheart and second wife, who he married in 1972, questioned his sexuality.
Whoa.
When Gacy told her he was bisexual in 1975, Hoff divorced him and left him alone in their house. Though she denied knowledge of what was to come, Hoff later admitted to authorities that she had seen him bringing teenage boys into their garage before.
You ain't saying that?
The same year Gacy married Hoff, he committed his first murder, that of Timothy McCoy. He stashed the body under his crawl space. Gacy reportedly managed to kill a second victim while still married to his wife in 1974. The victim is still unidentified, but Gacy claims to have strangled a young man and hid him in his closet. When the body began to leak, he moved it to his crawl space as well. But after his divorce, the killer clown had the freedom to bring more victims into his home, except for the final 4 victims, who he dumped into a river. And all of his victims were killed and stored under his house. Gacy's victims were all young men and boys. He preyed on teenagers, some who were drifters from out of town, and some who were local boys who worked for him. He lured some into his car by impersonating an officer, or to his house with an offer of a job, a place to party, or even money. Once he had his victims in his space, Gacy coaxed them with drugs or alcohol, or a sick magic trick.
Yeah, the magic trick. I seen that. Y'all remember? Y'all gotta go watch the goddamn Jeffrey Dahmer shit. They had it in there. It was the last episode, episode 10 of the Jeffrey Dahmer show, when he showed him a trick and he tied his ass up, and that's how he got him. It showed him a trick and he tied him up and he did all that. But damn, what I was finna say? Like, it's really be hard, like, to be setting a job for people, man. I've been in a position, like, it's been hard for me to get a job. Hard, like, when I say try, like a motherfucker. Well, in this city I'm in now. But in my home city, it ain't never that easy to get it ain't never that hard to get a job for me. But, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know how it is. You feel you want to make a couple extra dollars there. You got this random dude that is a killer that offer you money and a job. Man, that shit's sick. And then, I know back in the day, the 70s, it was way different. Shit was cheap, way cheaper. Way cheaper.
But she handcuffed them and dangled the key in front of their face. Then he would do horrible things to them and take their life. One of Gacy's favorite acts was to sit on his victim with all of his weight, which was a lot. He strangled and revived his victims, sometimes even partially drowning them in the bathtub. Gacy would then participate in search parties for some of these boys, as he was friendly with their parents and was considered an upstanding member of the community.
Oh, wow.
He had set himself up to kill unsuspectedly, but his 33rd murder wouldn't go quite as far.
33rd!
At about 9 p.m. on December 11, 1978, Elizabeth Peace drove to pick her son up, a high school sophomore, an honor roll student named Robert, from his job at a pharmacy in town. Robert Peace went outside and told her to wait a few minutes. He wanted to talk to a customer about a summer contracting job that would pay him twice what he was currently making. That was the last time that Elizabeth saw her son. Before midnight, she went to the police station to file a missing persons report. Police figured out that the man who Robert Peace was going to talk to was John Wayne Gacy, whose company, PDM Contractors, had recently remodeled Peace's pharmacy. They called him into the station for questioning, and Gacy obliged, after taking Peace's body and dumping it into the river. Within hours, authorities searched Gacy's home. They didn't find any bodies, but they did find evidence that Peace had been there.
I know that shit.
A receipt that belonged to a friend of his. It wasn't until December 22nd, 1978, almost exactly 10 years after his first sodomy conviction, that Gacy, the killer clown, confessed to murdering dozens of young men and boys. Investigators swarmed his house and uncovered 29 bodies in the crawl space.
God damn!
Decomposed beyond recognition, and dental experts were brought in to identify John Wayne Gacy's victims by their teeth. 3 years later, the killer clown used an insanity plea during his trial, hoping for a not guilty verdict. The jury didn't buy it. Gacy was sentenced to death and dropped the friendly facade he had maintained for all those years. He didn't seem to have any remorse for his victims. He would spend 14 years in prison awaiting his execution. The night before he was put to death, he returned to his roots and ordered a bucket of KFC as his last meal. According to the reports, the killer clown's last words before his execution was, "Kiss my ass."
Or that.
Though John Wayne Gacy is long gone, and his house has since been demolished, his legacy lives on. Most of John Wayne Gacy's victims that were retrieved from his crawl space were identified and released to their families. However, 23 years after his death, authorities are still trying to identify the rest. In July 2017, one of the last remaining bodies was finally identified, but his grieving family had already died. 6 of John Wayne Gacy's victims remain anonymous.
That is fucking crazy. And what the fuck took them people so goddamn long to determine who body and who body? Like, that is fucking crazy. Send them bodies off to get, you feel me? To get them people closure and shit, man. Them people die without having closure for their family. That's fucking sick. And they be worried about everything else, innocent people, and worried about what the fuck they need to be worried about. That John Wayne Gacy, sick motherfucker. Nighttime Files, you did your job, man. Good video like you always motherfucker do. That being said, give your thumbs up, like, subscribe. See you when I see you. Let's ride, nigga.